If I woke up tomorrow morning at age 70 and discovered I'd lost every dollar, every investment, and every advantage I'd earned in a lifetime, do you know what I'd do? I wouldn't panic, and I wouldn't complain about luck, fate, or villains. I'd sit up straight, take a deep breath, and remind myself of a simple truth. The world doesn't care what you've lost, it only cares what you're willing to do next. Your mind is the only asset no one can confiscate, tax away, divorce from you, steal while you sleep. If I lost every dollar at 70, I'd remind myself that the true balance sheet isn't printed on paper. It's written in your brain. People misunderstand wealth. They think it sits in bank accounts, stock tickers, or property deeds. But those things are merely the byproducts of thinking clearly for long enough. A trained mind is a machine that prints opportunity, and unlike a printing press, it doesn't wear out with age unless you neglect it. Most individuals at 70 stop learning and then wonder why their world shrinks. I would do the opposite. I'd read more intensely, study more ruthlessly, and mine the libraries and conversations that sharpen judgment. The world rewards those who can filter noise from truth, who can decide wisely when others are panicking, and who can spot value where the impatient see nothing. Money comes and goes, competence compounds. If you want to rebuild, you don't need a miracle. You need clarity. You need the discipline to learn what you don't know, challenge what you think you know, and discard the nonsense that crowds everyone's mind. 90% of success is simply refusing to believe stupid things. A well-developed mind can identify patterns, avoid traps, and navigate uncertainty with calm eyes. That is a superpower. You can lose a fortune and make another. You can lose a job and create a better one. But once a mind deteriorates into laziness or delusion, the rest follows downhill. At 70, I'd be more curious than ever. Curiosity keeps you young. Every new skill acquired, every mental model understood, every mistake studied increases what I call your internal equity. Wealth that sits inside you, not outside. And here's the beautiful part. Knowledge compounds faster than money ever could. One insight leads to the next. One good decision eliminates 10 bad ones. One useful idea can alter the trajectory of your remaining life. People admire luck and talent, but luck favors the prepared, and talent is worthless without thinking skills that direct it. The mind is the engine that converts time into advantage, pain into wisdom, and setbacks into strategy. That is why, stripped of everything at 70, I would not feel empty, I would feel armed. Because a sharpened mind guarantees one outcome. The world will eventually have to pay you again. Most people wreck their own comeback because they can't bear the taste of humility. They've built a story about who they were, job title, income bracket, influence. And when life strips those identities away, they'd rather cling to the memory than do the real work of rebuilding. If I lost it all at 70, I would refuse to waste a single second defending my ego. Pride doesn't feed you, pride doesn't grow your skills, and pride certainly doesn't bring opportunities back. What does? Being useful, showing up where value is created, even if the chair they offer you isn't the one you sat in before. I would accept any role that keeps me learning and contributing. Most people won't take a step backward, even if it's the only way they'll move forward again. There is enormous power in becoming the person willing to start at the bottom without complaint. Employers notice it. Customers appreciate it. Even rivals respect it. It signals seriousness. It signals hunger. More importantly, it frees you from the mental chains that keep people stuck in decline. When you attach your identity to contribution rather than status, every small task becomes a stepping stone. Sweeping the floor in a business you admire is a better strategy than pretending to be important in a place that is dying. When you focus on usefulness, you attract opportunities you didn't know existed. A quiet competence spreads by word of mouth faster than any RA summe can travel. At 70, you have something the young don't: experience. Pair that experience with humility, and you become unstoppable. The rare combination of a mature mind and a student attitude is lethal. Most people your age are coasting or complaining. You are learning. You are adapting. You are building a reputation from scratch, not clinging to the ashes of the past. And that is the difference between stagnation and rebirth. Life rewards the person who is willing to roll up their sleeves when everyone else is polishing their old trophies. Usefulness is leverage. It pulls you back into relevance and puts you in rooms you no longer have credentials for. Once people see you solving problems again, small at first, bigger over time, they start opening doors. And when doors open, capital follows, allies appear, and momentum returns. That is why the surest path back from nothing isn't prestige or applause. It's work done well. No matter how modest the starting point, reliability is the most underrated strategy for rebuilding a life at any age, and it becomes a competitive superweapon when you're 70. While most people fixate on talent, credentials, or connections, the world quietly runs on one question: can you be counted on? If I lost everything, I wouldn't waste time trying to convince people how smart I am or how much I once achieved. I'd let my consistency speak louder than any RA summe. When you show up early, deliver exactly what you promised, and take responsibility when things go wrong, people start paying attention. It seems ordinary, even boring, yet it separates you from the masses faster than ambition, charisma, or genius ever could. Society is full of people with potential, but tragically short on people others can trust. A reliable person becomes indispensable in any circle. You don't need to be the loudest, the flashiest, or the most creative. You just need to be the one who finishes what they start and does it without excuses. When everyone else is distracted, complaining, or chasing shortcuts, you're quietly compounding credibility. And credibility compounds exactly like money, slow at first, then suddenly explosive. One person recommends you, then 5, then 50. Before long, opportunities arrive faster than you can accept them, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you proved yourself valuable in silence. Reliability also builds a far stronger network than charm ever could. People trust the person who always returns a call, honors a deadline, and never blames circumstances. Those people get invited into better rooms. They get included in conversations before others even know those conversations exist. Competence backed by reliability is like gravity. It pulls resources, allies, and fortunes toward you. Even at 70, especially at 70, you can outperform younger competitors by simply being disciplined and consistent. Youth has energy, age has steadiness. Steadiness wins more often than excitement. And remember, reliability isn't just doing what you say, it's doing what is needed even when it's uncomfortable or unnoticed. It means solving the problem instead of explaining why the problem is hard. It means volunteering for what others avoid, because difficult tasks are where trust is forged. If I were rebuilding from zero, I'd build my reputation brick by brick through repeated reliability. People eventually bet on the person who always shows up prepared, calm, and committed, because that person becomes the safest investment in any environment. Reliability is a currency that never devalues, and the older you are, the more valuable it becomes. Most lives don't fall apart because of some grand catastrophe. They crumble from a series of small, avoidable mistakes that accumulate until they become overwhelming. That's why, if I lost everything at 70, my first priority would not be chasing brilliance. It would be avoiding stupidity. You don't need to be a genius to rebuild. You just need to stop stepping on landmines. People idolize the dazzling success story, but they overlook the quiet discipline of not messing things up. Putting yourself in positions where you can't recover is the real enemy. I would stay clear of desperation decisions, miracle investments, and fast talking promises. Those things lure people in during moments of weakness, and they usually end with empty pockets and a bitter story. The truth is, eliminating dumb behavior is the closest thing the world offers to a guaranteed strategy. Don't gamble money you can't afford to lose. Don't trust people whose words outrun their track record. Don't ignore risks just because you're tired of being cautious. It sounds simple, almost trivial, yet most people fail at it because it requires patience and humility rather than excitement or ego. But if you make a habit of avoiding preventable errors, everything else becomes easier. Wealth grows, relationships strengthen, and momentum stays on your side, not because you outsmarted everyone, but because you refuse to sabotage yourself. Life offers more ways to lose than to win. One foolish choice. An impulsive debt, a reckless partnership, a self-destructive habit can undo years of hard work. At 70, a wrong step can be more expensive than at 30 because there is less runway to recover. That is exactly why I would be more disciplined than ever. I wouldn't chase speculative trends or listen to the noise of the crowd. Crowds panic, crowds dream unrealistically, crowds confuse excitement with opportunity. Rational thinkers keep their feet on solid ground. Slow, steady progress may feel unimpressive, but it protects your future like nothing else. Avoiding stupidity also applies to your emotions. Bitterness, envy, and self-pity are traps that drain your judgment. The moment you start believing you're entitled to an easier path, you stop doing the work necessary to rebuild. Instead, stay calm, stay rational, and let others exhaust themselves with drama and distraction. When everyone else burns time and energy on foolishness, you quietly advance step by step. Rebuilding a life isn't a miracle. It's the reward for simply staying out of the holes other people willingly jump into. Rebuilding your life after a major loss is rarely about some grand leap forward. It's about the willingness to stack one small, rational step on top of another, and keep stacking long after the excitement fades. Most people sabotage themselves by demanding immediate results. They want the comeback story, but they aren't willing to sit through the long, quiet chapters where nothing glamorous happens. If I lost everything at 70, I would treat patience as a competitive advantage. Time may feel shorter at that age. Wisdom stretches it further. I would begin by identifying one activity that generates value and then repeat it relentlessly. When others sprint and burn out, the steady walker eventually passes them simply because he doesn't stop. There's a certain power in moving deliberately. Panic invites mistakes. Urgency tempts shortcuts. Shortcuts turn into traps disguised as opportunities. I've seen it too many times. People rush so hard to regain what they lost that they end up losing more. Wealth built slowly has a sturdier foundation. Wealth won through luck or impulse evaporates as easily as it arrived. I would rather build brick by brick. Earn $1, keep 90 cents, reinvest the surplus, learn from each cycle, then chase some scheme that promises to replace a lifetime of work overnight. When you move steadily, you stay in control. You observe patterns. You notice risks before they blow up. You gain compound benefits from habit rather than gambling your future on hope. Small momentum creates confidence. You make a little progress, you see it working, and you're motivated to push further. Before long, the modest gains snowball into meaningful results. This is the hidden math of life that most people don't bother to learn. They crave velocity more than trajectory. But a slow climb headed upward always beats a fast sprint in the wrong direction. And upward is very achievable if you maintain discipline and stay focused on the long-term payoff rather than the daily scoreboard. At 70, all the noise fades. You've already seen cycles of boom and bust. You know that a good decision repeated consistently outperforms a brilliant decision taken impulsively. Rebuilding isn't about fireworks, it's about rhythm. The discipline to show up every day, even when progress feels microscopic, is what eventually produces the outcome everyone else calls luck. Slow doesn't mean weak. Slow means intentional, durable, and virtually unstoppable once momentum compounds. At 70, health becomes the foundation that determines whether your comeback is even possible, because a brilliant mind trapped in a tired, neglected body becomes a prisoner of its own potential. If I lost everything, the very first investment I'd protect would be my physical well-being. Not because I enjoy discipline for its own sake, but because energy is the currency that buys you time, clarity, and productivity. Most people wait until the body fails before they decide to take it seriously. But by then, the decline has already gained momentum. I'd prioritize sleep like it was a business asset. Treat nutrition like a strategic allocation and view movement as mandatory maintenance rather than optional effort. You cannot rebuild anything. Wealth, purpose, influence. If exhaustion is sabotaging every decision you make, delivers dividends that compound quietly in the background. When you wake up refreshed instead of drained, you think differently. You solve problems faster, your tolerance for stress expands, and opportunities seem larger instead of overwhelming. A strong body doesn't just support your goals, it multiplies your capacity to pursue them. At 70, small lifestyle choices become massive differentiators. 5 minutes of exercise daily adds up faster than people imagine. Cutting one bad habit removes a mountain of future suffering. Most individuals at that age talk about winding down, shrinking dreams, and accepting decline. I would go the other way entirely. Treat my health as a force multiplier for every remaining year, turning each day into a strategic advantage instead of a countdown. And here's the irony. Age gives you the perspective the young desperately lack. You understand what matters. You've lived through the consequences of neglect. You know that trading short-term convenience for long-term vitality is an awful bargain. By choosing discipline over decay, you set yourself up to think clearly, act consistently, and seize chances others can't physically pursue. Meanwhile, peers who ignore their bodies slowly drift into frustration, mentally foggy, chronically tired, discouraged into inactivity. It's not wisdom they lack, it's energy. When you maintain health, you keep access to your full potential. A resilient body also keeps your identity aligned with action rather than memory. You feel capable. You stay engaged with life. You maintain the confidence to show up in demanding environments and offer value without feeling outmatched. People respect those who take care of themselves because discipline in one area signals reliability in all areas. When spirit, intellect, and body cooperate, age becomes leverage, not limitation. And when the body remains strong enough to support ambition, 70 stops looking like an ending and becomes a second runway for reinvention.